So welcome everyone to our Congreso workshop, kicking off the elections, know your rights, and vote for a just recovery, presented by CEJA Action. I'm your MC, Ernesto Arevalo, with CBE Action. And for this 1 hour workshop, we'll discuss how November 3rd, 2020 will be a pivotal election for environmental justice communities. We will explore how to make your vote count in November. So with that, I'll pass the mic to Mabel.
Hi, good afternoon, folks. I'm so glad to be here with you at our Congreso. So as Ernesto said, I am Mabel Sang with CEJA, and we'll throw really quickly into the chat box introduction. So Anita, if you can go to the first slide. So if you can put your name, organization, city, the first time you cared about an election, and the role that you took in the most recent election. So again, my name is Mabel and I'm with CEJA Action, and I am based in Oakland. And the first time I cared about election was in 2018 when Obama was elected. It was his first election, and it was a moment in history that I'll never forget. And the role that I took in the most recent election was that I worked to make sure EJ champions were elected across the state in 2018. So to dive into this workshop, this year's Congreso is how we justly recover from this moment. And not only like Tere and Grecia and Jasmine and Tiffany's talked about in this last workshop, our housing, our job opportunities, our energy systems and more need to recover, but we also need to recover from Republican and corporate influence in our policies, and we need to change who sits in the seat of power. Political power comes from all of us together to elect leaders, to educate leaders, and hold them accountable again and again until they have no choice but to lead alongside us and champion our long-term vision. So I'd love to see your responses to the first time you cared about an election and your role, and if you have one, in the most recent election, in the chat box. You can go to the next slide, Nina. So we believe that political power is making sure that we are an organized community. Building up with our political power, that's many of us together, and we're strong across the state. Together we can envision an environmental just future that includes all of us. And together we can influence the entire legislature, not just the representatives where we live. This November is another election, and we need to make sure that we're telling as many people how we can vote and how important it will be to vote. And next. And when candidates we believe in run for office, we tell our friends, our family, and communities why they should be elected. And when they know that we have believed in them from day one and have worked to get them elected, over time we can educate them on environmental issues, keep them accountable to our interests, and build environmental justice leaders into our champions. But what if we were able to elect our leaders into office today and elect our members into those seats? Today, we'll share with you stories from people who've done just that and make sure that your vote counts. This November, with so many important decisions this election, we need everyone to take part. So we can stop screen sharing. So I have a few questions for you, and so Isa can get ready to put this up. But so my questions is the big group. So if you wonder what will happen after this November's elections, raise your hand. Raise your hand if you're wondering what this world will look like after November. Okay. If you have ever voted, thumbs up. Yeah. If you have ever talked to another voter about elections, do an okay sign with your hands. If you have ever talked to a candidate or an elected leader, put your hands on your cheeks. Thank you. And so as we can see through this whole, through our hand motions and how we're connected together, how powerful we are together, both here today and beyond. So I'll pass it off to Franco to talk about how we are voting this November.
All right, thank you, Mabel. I just want to make sure. So I'm Franco. I'm with Environmental Health and Justice Campaign. We're down in the San Diego, Tijuana area. And so, as you saw, we wanted to kind of get to know you all a little bit and get, find out a little bit about you all. We did that with the hand gestures right now, and also seeing some really great information in the chat here. Everything from, the Bush, the 2000 election, Al Gore and Bush, and then other elections that people have brought up. Kennedy was mentioned in there. So good to get to know you all there. And we're going to talk a little bit about some of the things that we need to know going into this election and how we all can serve to, get that information out. But in order to start that, I'm going to, give you guys a little quiz, give, the group here some questions that I want to get to. And so we're going to put up a poll question here starting from the very beginning. Let's go ahead and put that one up. All right, so hopefully everybody should be seeing a poll question pop up on their screen. So question for everybody here. Every registered voter will be receiving a vote by mail ballot this year. So it's true or false. Everybody here can fill out the poll. Hopefully you all are answering. Let's maybe see as people can, get those results up there, and then can we, I don't know, can we share the results of that? Or if people already answered, or kind of share what we've gotten so far? Great. All right, cool. So there was some true, there was some false there. So that's good to know that, we have this information that we want to look at and that we want to have. So let's go ahead and share the next slide so we can see, some of this, the information about this, right? So we can go ahead and see that. So let's go to the next slide, please. Yeah. So looking at this, this next election, so we do know some information that will be coming up about that. So some of you said false there, but yes, every active voter will get a vote by mail ballot this year. And, the information's there in Spanish as well, so all of you can see that. And hopefully, I think a lot of you have voted by mail before, but if you haven't, this is the envelope that you'll be getting, something that looks like this, the envelope that you get here, right? And it's really important when you're filling out this vote by mail ballot, you'll start to get them in October, and you shouldn't have it now. You shouldn't have it yet. You'll be getting it in October. But if you're going to send that in, sign next to the X, because that's really important that it's signed to verify that it was you. And when you and that signature, it actually should be the same signature from your California ID. So for example, if your name is, if you always sign in your California ID, you sign Franco, and then all of a sudden when you fill this out, you sign Francisco or Frank or something different, it's not gonna, that's could be an issue. So sign the same, it's the same thing. And then just because it's a vote by mail ballot, there is actually different ways to turn it in. So you see on here, you can put it in the mail. Great news, you don't have to put a stamp on it. You can actually just drop it in the mail and without a stamp. And then you can actually take it into polling places, and we're going to talk more about polling places coming up here. And you can also, there will be also, depending on each county, there will be different ballot drop boxes, and I want you to think about this as far as knowing your rights. Most of the people in here, I saw from the chat, have worked on elections before and know that. But the really key thing is that we still saw that some folks in here still said false, right? So didn't have that information. So how do we, make sure that, so it is every active voter in California that will be get it. So we're going to talk a little bit about what that means right now as far as active, and how do you make sure that you are part of that group that will be getting it. But also everybody in here is kind of a resource to now spread that information to the people they know, right? So let's go ahead and, so that's about voting by mail. Let's do another question here that I want people to take a look at here. Can we put up the second poll question? All right, so everybody should have that question in front of them. So let's go ahead and say, there will be the same number of in-person voting locations as we had in March. So everybody, March feels like a long time ago now, but in the March election, there was a certain number of voting locations. Are we going to have the same amount come this November? What do you all think? Go ahead and fill out your answer. Okay, so give everybody a little bit of a chance to answer. I'm starting to see, if we could put the answers up, but I'm sure some of you put true, some, there's different answers here. So, it's an important question, because not, and false, there was a big, some people said true and some people said false. And this is actually, I gotta be honest, we kind of made this a trick question, because depending on the county, it may be true. I've come to understand that in San Francisco, it is going to be true. And, that because they wanted to make sure to keep that many up. I know here in San Diego, we will not have as many polling locations. I actually just saw the update yesterday of that we're going to have, less than a fourth. So for every 4 locations we had in March, we'll only have 1 this upcoming one, right? So that's really important information because, the same polling location that you or your aunt or your cousins or your neighbors have been used to voting at for years, there's a good chance that it might not be there in November, and so we need to get that information out to folks and, make sure that our friends and our families, we all here, everybody here has their network. I mean, this is key, this type of session that you're coming to today and getting this Know Your Rights document that we'll be sharing, not everybody gets that information, right? So, and so for this, just to say for this coming November, we do know on election day, polling locations will be open from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. And then depending on each county, there's going to be a different amount of polling locations. And also location access, because I just also here in San Diego saw that starting the Saturday before the election, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, polling locations will be open from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. So that's different than in past years because, normally it was only open on election day. So they're opening it up for more days, but, and those locations are 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. But that's here in San Diego. In each county throughout the state, it's going to be different. And, we're going to put it up here later, but, your county registrar, but also here in San Diego, EHC, in San Francisco Poder, depending on where you are, you will get that information from your local organization as well. And of course, the most important thing is to tell everybody, do what you can to stay safe while voting in person, maintaining social distance, wearing a mask, wearing a face covering, all of that is going to be really important, And so, just to say is that, I have some questions here. I think, again, the question about how much longer ahead of the election day will it be open? It depends on each county, and we should, be giving that information out each time, as we move forward, right? So let's go ahead and move on to the next. So again, I wanted to remind everybody, you all are getting this information here today, and we're going to be able to take it, to people after this. So can we go on to the next polling question? Oh, I'm sorry, we have actually some more information to give. And all of this information on this slide will be distributed. As you see now, we're putting up the Spanish one. And here's the important thing. If you are not sure if you would be getting that you are an active voter and you'll be getting it, you can go and register again, and this is you can check your voter status here at this website, and then you can go ahead and re-register. If you've moved, if you're not sure, if you haven't voted by mail before and you want to make sure you're going to get a vote by mail ballot, you can re-register as well. CEJA Action will be distributing not only a Know Your Rights document, but also a voter guide for the upcoming election that you'll be getting for November. And you can share all of those with your friends, with your family. You are the trusted messenger that can get this out to the folks that to your neighbors, to everybody. And it's going to make a huge difference in this upcoming election. And then and also each organization, I know here in San Diego, EHJC will be working to get information out about the local county and how many days it's going to be open. It should be the same in each county that you all work in and that you all live in and are there. And here are some important dates. October 19th to make sure you register to vote. October 5th if you want to get an absentee ballot, if you need to change that. And November 3rd, that'll be the day of the election, right? 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. And so, so we do know that, so let's go ahead and move on to the next poll because I want to get commitment from all of you. We're all excited. We're ready to do this work. So let's see here. True or false? Each of you, I will share the information I learned here today with at least 5 people. Is that true for all of you? Let me see. I want to see these results quickly. It should be 100% here, right? Let's see. How many people did we get here? All right, 100%. So look, there's over 150 people here today, and I'm gonna, do my quick math here, but that's, that's over 750 people. Almost 1,000 people will get up to knowing this information, having this, and if each of them passes it along, we have over 1,000 people who now have this new information and really important. And and it's going to be really important to the future of this election and what's happening and how we move forward from this. So now that we're back here in our gallery view, that we're all back here together. Stop sharing the slides. What I did want to do is take a moment here because I know some of you have done this work before and continue to do it. And we wanted to give a chance to somebody from here in San Diego who has done this work, and her family's been kind of committed to it. So I'm going to ask Alicia if she can take herself off mute and go ahead and share a little bit about why she does this work and what's so important about it for her and the community that she lives in. So Alicia, if you can unmute yourself and go ahead and jump in now.
Hola, buenas tardes, mi nombre es Alicia Sánchez, soy de aquí de National City, y soy promotora de EHC. ¿Me van a interpretar o lo siguen? Perdón. Ok. Oh, muy bien. Bueno, yo tengo 10 años participando con EHC como voluntaria y ahora como promotora. Y me ha tocado trabajar con los votantes en el 2008 y en marzo pasado hicimos mucho trabajo informando a la comunidad. Lo importante de votar no nomás es el noviembre, también son las elecciones primarias, donde también ahí tenemos mucha información. Esto que he estado haciendo lo empecé con mi familia. He estado informando con ellos, con mis amistades, sobre el trabajo y las cosas que vienen en la boleta. A mí me ha gustado hacer este trabajo porque me gustan los cambios que tengo en mi comunidad. He visto en ellos. También me encanta que involucré a mi esposo y a mi hijo y a una sobrina también. Ella participó hemos participado en varias elecciones y pues me siento muy bien de ser una parte de dar un mensaje a la comunidad, lo importante que es votar. Así que esperamos que este noviembre, como lo puso Franco hace ratito, seamos más de 150 personas las que digamos sí al voto. No sé si tengan alguna otra pregunta.
No, I think that was it. Thank you very much, Alicia. Did everybody hear that? I know there was an interpreter going, but I wanted to make sure everybody heard it. If we did not, I'm going to quickly summarize it, just really quickly. Is it, because our interpreter was saying it in English, but I'll quickly, just summarize. Alicia got involved doing this work, getting involved with EHC and doing work in the community, and then in recent years has gone more active in elections and started with her family, telling them about the importance of the election, telling them the work EHC was doing with elections, and it went on from there. And actually, she also, brought up the fact that now, in these last election, it was a whole family affair, not just her, but also her son and her husband were out talking to voters as well about the importance of this election. So thank you so much, Alicia, for sharing that. And I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to Lucia right now, that's taking over.
Thank you, Franco. Hey everyone, my name is Lucia. I'm here repping Cause. I'm really excited for us to be moving into this next section of the workshop. We're going to be having a conversation with two leaders who come out of CEJA organizations who are going to share their experience on running for office and working with the community as elected officials. And so, the idea of running for office can seem really scary for some of us. And, some of us can't even imagine doing that in our lifetime. And so that's why we want to have this conversation, to make it, bring in the real experience of someone who came from our community that actually did it. So before we introduce our speakers, I want to get everyone in the elections headspace with a little icebreaker. So if you can, in the chat box, share your favorite memory from helping in an election campaign. That could be like working with volunteers or talking to voters. Send it in the chat. All right. And so, phone banking. I see lots of people phone banking and car caravans. Yes. and we'll see what our favorite memories of this election will look like, because things might be a little bit different. But yeah, talking to voters and canvassing in our neighborhoods is so important, because we're connecting with our communities. And so during this conversation, we're going to be taking questions from our speakers. And so throughout the conversation, if you have any questions that you would like to be answered by our guest speakers, please just send them through the chat, and we'll have time to have those answered at the end. And so right now would be a good time on your Zoom settings to switch to speaker view. So the speakers appear larger on your screen. So if you're on your computer, it'll be on the top right corner. And if you're on your phone, you can just swipe the screen to the left. I think that we are ready to introduce and welcome our speakers, Georgette Gomez and Esther Goldsby. So you two can both unmute yourselves, and yeah, if both of you could share what organization that you're coming from, and the roles that you had at the organization, your CEJA organization.
First. Well, I'll say since I'm talking. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, it seems like I'm not ready. Maybe my internet's acting up. I'm gonna assume until I see otherwise that you can hear me and see me. So I'm Esther Goldsby, pronoun she, her, they, them. Come from CBE, and my story, I'm sure, is not, that unique, but because it's me, I'm sharing it as so. I was a member with CBE and realized what actually environmental justice is, and then I became staff about 5 years or so later, and then I was staff for about 3 years, and then when I just ran for county supervisor, I am a core member once again, and I'm.
Thank you so much for being here, Esther, and thank you for that great introduction. I also want to welcome Georgette Gomez. Georgette, could you unmute yourself?
Yes, can you hear me? Yep.
Yes.
All right. Thank you, Lucia. Well, it's a great pleasure to be sharing this cyberspace with all of you. I'm excited for this conversation. For those of you that I have not had the pleasure of meeting, my name is Georgette Gomez, she, her, hers. And I am currently the council president for the city of San Diego. I used to work with Environmental Health Coalition. I actually started working with the organization as a community organizer, and then as a good nonprofit employer, you start getting more responsibilities, and really is driven by the commitment to really advancing justice in our community. So then I started, I actually volunteered to lead the voter education work that we were developing at the time. From there, I moved on to get more responsibilities as a public policy advocate, influencing a lot of land use decisions in the city of San Diego, National City. Did a lot of work with a lot of you. So this is a great space to be spending my afternoon. And I left the organization as the associate director, decided to really challenge myself, and hopefully this conversation can inspire our true warriors that are fighting to create a more just society. And I say that because we need to think of ourselves as putting ourselves out there in spaces that we normally don't see ourselves, which is becoming the actual decision makers. So I did that in 2015. I put myself in a very, very uncomfortable space, but I knew that it was worth it because it was about the true part of believing that we can create environmental justice in our communities, and we will only achieve that, as you all know, when you go to DC, or when you go to the state and start influencing some of the decision makers, when you're actually speaking to an elected that comes from the EJ movement, you don't have to sell the agenda. They understand it, they know it. And we need to start electing more of us to start making sure that we are achieving environmental justice. So I decided to challenge myself. I decided to put myself in a very, very uncomfortable situation, but I did it collectively with the community. And we were able to succeed. We won against all odds my first election. And now I have the great honor to have earned your support, because I have decided to run for Congress. And it's not an easy hill to climb, but I know when you're climbing it with all of you, we can make this happen. So I'm excited for today. So thank you.
Thank you both for being here and having a conversation with us. I can see in the chat box that both of you are such inspirations to your communities and to the Alliance as a whole. And so moving into our first question, this will be for both of you. Could you talk about an experience that you had at CBE or EHC that really inspired you or made you realize that you could run? And so Esther, would you like to answer this question first?
Yeah, yes, thank you for that question. I want to say all of what me being a part of CBE, led me here, especially the part where, coming from a community member and then becoming staff and learning everything that I learned in there. And within myself, but just really to stay true to my story, I want to share that when that call came, it actually came from my ancestors, and just like that for me, because just thinking about running for office, I still get butterflies. But when I was in that moment, this last primary, I did not have that. The ancestors came and said, run for that seat, it is ours. And I really ran, and I didn't feel it. That uncomfortable and that nervousness, it came, but then I just really felt that I had some, like I was present with my ancestors. So in that position too, just being called to do this, thinking about running again in 24, I just realized that, just being a part of community, including, CJA, CEJA, everyone, and just knowing the environmental work, it is life, right? It is us. And when I first came into community with CBE and others, I realized that we need to be in them seats, because why are we continuing to do this process? And so I was proud too to be a part of a previous CBE employee that actually ran for city council here in District 7 in Oakland. And so, yeah, it just, I was seeing all these examples, and then I just felt that it was like it was brought to me because I had to get prepared for what's coming, and it went right into COVID. And so I just feel that the lessons in the journey is continuing. Thank you. Check.
Thank you. I love how you mentioned your deep connection with your ancestors. Georgette, I want to hand it off to you and your response to this question.
Yeah, no, I mean, to me, it's similar, just like Esther. There's not a particular moment in time. It's just the combination of just the multiple campaigns that I've had the honor to be a part of, from influencing how trade gets crafted and impacts the communities and their border communities to influencing the growth of good movements and how that impacts our communities to influencing ensuring that our communities are built in a holistic way, in a healthy way. The whole idea of the green zones, the red to green, really I carry all of that with me. But more importantly is the interactions with the community folks that I've had the great honor of interacting in the many years that I've been in this fight, that really have been my inspiration and really always constantly pushing myself to figure out, okay, how can we do things differently that will lead to true change through systemic change, and all of that, believing that we can do this collectively. I know that you all heard from Dolores Huerta early on, if we can think about her and the work that she's done throughout the years, and also the same, just believing that we matter and believing that government should be responsible to our communities in a meaningful way it's an inspiration to me every single day. Now I'm in the middle of it all, but what keeps me going and what allows me to continue being in the midst of it all is all of you. It's your inspiration to really create those communities that are healthy, that are uplifting our communities, and that are creating that validity. And I do know that we can do this collectively, but we need to start doing it in a way that we're electing our own to ensure that we can achieve the justice that we've been all working towards. And so for me, that's my inspiration, is a true believer in justice, a true believer in creating a different society that is uplifting our communities and validating our communities. And the only way that will happen is once we start seeing ourselves as those decision makers that are creating that vision. So for me, that's my inspiration every single day, to continue going to City Hall, to continue taking this new journey of trying to go to DC, to really uplift our movement collectively.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, both of you, for leading with community. I feel like that's what I heard really come across from both of your responses. Before I ask the next question, I just want to send a reminder to everyone to submit questions in the chat box if you have any questions that you would like Georgette or Esther to answer at the end of this. So just send them through the chat box throughout this conversation. And so Esther, the next question I have is for you. So for CEJA Action, to build political power means that we need to have political courage to take these big risks, because they show all of us what we can accomplish, no matter what the outcome is. So Esther, how would you describe your campaign as meaningful, and what impacts did it have on your community?
Yeah, I'm thinking about that question, and one, I ended with my campaign going right into COVID era, and I don't really feel that the ending of my campaign was like as successful as I wished, and that would have been really reaching out to those over 25,000 people that voted for me, and really, like thanking them and hearing from them, to especially to get to know them. One of the things that I know, like during the campaign, I was meeting a lot of people that are used to the status quo. The person that I was running against has been there for 19 years. And so those are a lot of relationships. And I think the most touching part is all the support that I had from you all, from all the CBE members, staff, everyone that, found out that I was running. And just to share a little bit also is that my running time was really short. It was for November, but I had left my position at CBE in the end of January. So it was almost about like a month and a half of just full-blown campaign, which also, I think, leads to, you know, me not really experiencing the fullness of running a campaign. But yeah, I think this is just gonna be short. It's just knowing that people that, especially knowing all the way of my background and being in community and my whole life journey, and that, you know, it was bold, right? And that they can see, and hopefully just hearing from, you know, the things in my platform, learned like my dedication to environmental justice, and that they can do it also. And check.
Thank you. So I just want to send a last reminder. This is a last chance to send questions in the chat box. The questions that you have for Esther and Georgette. And so, Georgette, this question's for you. How does your relationship and background with EHC allow you to co-govern with community while in office? I know that you mentioned a lot of leading with community in your last response, but could you go more into detail about that?
Yeah, no, for sure. A couple of ways in terms of how I insert and carry the spirit of the work that I was doing with Environmental Health Coalition really gets inserted in a couple of ways. One is how I carry the spirit of a community organizer with me as an elected. I do a lot of organizing within my colleagues. There's a total of 9 of us. And in order for us to move forward policy, I definitely put the hat on of the organizer and get to work to ensure that we have the alignment on things that I think are critical. So I've been doing quite a lot of that. And then outside of that, obviously, not only organizing the decision makers, but also making sure that the organizations that have a stake on whatever policy is being discussed, they too are at the table, ensuring that as things are shaping, they get it to influence or at least have a say on how the conversations are evolving. So it's been really instrumental for me as I'm leading on issues, that I'm always constantly connecting with those that are closest to the issues that we are addressing, whether it being a creation of jobs or being housing that will impact a community. Want to make sure that they're at the table, whether it being a conversation about restorative justice related to police accountability, constantly working with those that have been impacted the most. So it's been a two-pronged approach for me. It's but also just putting that to the side. I mean, my entry to policy has always been, how does this particular issue, how can I advance, improve the quality of life for that person that is, that has been the most forgotten in our city. So I try to channel that and really try to figure out, okay, if there's an advancement, that's good. If there isn't, let me continue pushing until there is. So, just overall, my values are constantly there, but also how I engage and how I work with the coalitions and building coalitions to ensure that they're at the table, and then taking it a step further, making sure that if it is a policy that is critical that we want to see succeed, then I get to work and start organizing the rest of my colleagues to ensure that the votes are there, to ensure that we succeed.
Yeah, what really stood out is the spirit of a community organizer, and I feel like I sense that from both of you, because that's how we do our work and how we lead with community. So I want to hand it off to Franco to ask the question submitted by our audience. So Franco, what is our next question?
Yes. So there was a question here. For, I guess I'm gonna probably, this might be just for Georgette, but it could be, I think, for both. But there was a question here. When you work within the establishment with other folks who promote the status quo, how are you? Yeah, kind of just how do you deal with that, and how do you feel? How do you feel about that?
Yeah, that's a loaded question because I have as the council president, you get to work with a lot of people, and a lot of people come at you. Sometimes people that you normally don't want to be talking to, but as somebody that is a representative of everybody, you have to give space to those folks. It's an opportunity. I use it as an opportunity to really try to craft and try to get them to think differently. And for some reason, it's interesting because I can remember when I was an advocate or a community organizer talking to the same people that I'm talking to right now, the level of them listening to me is completely different. And I guess it's because, I'm running the agenda for the city of San Diego. So they know that if they're not paying attention, that perhaps some of the issues that they care about might not make it into the agenda. So, I'm mindful of that, and I play off of that as well. I just want to make sure that we are pushing our agenda for the city of San Diego and their region, but sometimes you have to play both the angles as well. Sometimes it's frustrating because you don't get them to move, and they're very set on their ways, and their ways is how do we make more money, take the shortest route to, increase our at the end of the day, our financial benefits. That really is still very much a real reality in our society. So just trying to shift that and make it be more humane is, it's work that we have to do, but I'm constantly doing it. And it's, I can't close the door because they're still influencing other people. So I need to ensure that I take the opportunities to try to plant that seed at least to ensure that they're thinking of things differently.
Mm-hmm.
Great, thank you. So in a similar vein, Esther, can I ask you a question here? Do you have any visions for how campaigns can change, transform, operate in the future that models the life-affirming and healthy societies we want to live in? Esther, if you want to jump into that one.
So first I have to apologize. I know my internet is messing up. I didn't capture that whole question.
Yeah, do you have any visions for how campaigns can change or transform to kind of, to model the life-affirming societies that we want to see and, and everything? Do you have any thoughts of how that could transform?
Yeah, I want to say more community running, like for every seat in every position in every office. And we can change, just like right now during this time, we can change how everything has been before. That's how I feel. And so, we will be changing the way campaigns are done. We know, I know I have the experience now of where money actually goes. And for me, the more community that we actually know personally, they will help with the votes. And so, I don't know, it feels like my questions are just, short and simple, but I don't know how much time we have.
Oh, that's wonderful. Yeah, thank you. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, I hope that kind of answers. It's just, yeah.
No, thank you. That's very authentic. But thank you. We appreciate that. I mean, you're answering very real, and I think that's great. And kind of the idea of what we're getting to here, right? So, but I don't know, Georgette, did you want to add anything to that? Anything you've seen? I mean, running a national level campaign now. Is there anything you wanted to say in relation to that?
Well, I mean, I think in relation to running, and I think in relation to running in the era of COVID has really shifted. As an organizer, right? We do the work face-to-face. We do the work door-to-door. All of that is not a possibility right now. So we are being challenged, but always the challenge creates an opportunity. And the opportunity is that, you know, running for Congress really has opened the pipeline to connect with other communities outside of even the region that you're running in. We are doing a heavy outreach via phone, via texting, and that can be done from anywhere that you're in. You don't have to be at the local level. So that really has created an opportunity to amplify our outreach. And I really want to stress that because, you know, that's an opportunity for all of you to engage. And this is not a plug to my campaign, but obviously we'll love to have you all join. But really, if we have an opportunity to plug into any campaign nationwide, anywhere you're at right now, if you really care about really creating systemic change, and this is not a question to this group because I know that you all have been in the trenches for a long time. We have an opportunity to plug in right now because I do know that any campaign, the way that they're doing their outreach really is over phones, over internet. So it's an opportunity, and we have had to step up on our technology availability and become a little bit more savvy. But this is an opportunity to really engage nationwide, to really start shifting the dynamics, not only just at the local or at the state, but nationally. So it's an opportunity. We don't have to think about just our own. Obviously, we care about influencing our backyard. We've got to take care of our neighborhoods for sure. But in order to really create that systemic, that real change that we all been wanting to, we got to influence the whole system. And we only do that by helping those that are running that have that at heart. But right now that we have that ability to be able to do that. So I just want to put it out there that as we're talking about change, as we're talking about systemic change, this is an opportunity to truly plug into any type of campaign that has that in mind. So thank you for asking that question, Franco.
Of course, yeah, it's coming from the audience. So I think we are just about out of time here on some of these questions, but thank you from the audience for those questions. I did want to, I think we're transitioning now, speaking of these campaigns, and, you know, I know, thank you both for participating here. I know Council President Gomez is very busy with everything going on right now, but thank you for spending this time with us. And if I understand correctly, you're also going to be spending more time with EHC next week, right? At the 40th anniversary event?
40th anniversary, yes. It's been interesting just because, you know, COVID really has, as you all know, COVID has really shined a light in all these injustices and all these inequities that we all are very much familiar with. So I'm not going to give you the lecture, but that really has asked me to step up even more and make sure that we are taking care of our communities. At the same time, I'm running for Congress. So it's been an interesting time in my life being challenged to the highest level, but I know that I carry the seats of all of you with me, and that's the energy that I need to ensure that we do this collectively. So thank you, and I'm looking forward and celebrating the 40th anniversary of Environmental Health Coalition, my home.
Yes, and I see some words in there in the chat, but, you know, really connecting it to community. I actually have a moment here to bring on one of our community members who, you know, was involved in EHJC and other work. And so I'm going to invite Esperanza if she can take herself off of mute. And, you know, she's going to be sharing, I think there's going to be an interpreter. If anybody wants to jump in and out of the English or Spanish interpretation, we will be, you know, interpreting it there. But Esperanza, if you can please take yourself off of mute and the interpreter will take over it. I'll try to summarize it again at the end, just in case. But yeah, so I just want to hand it over to Esperanza to talk a little bit about her involvement in seeing Georgette run and everything there.
Hola, buenas tardes. Mi nombre es Esperanza González de San Diego y participo como voluntaria en EHJC en las elecciones. Vivo en el distrito 9, donde la señora Gómez es mi regidora. En el 2015, cuando la señora Gómez me informó que estaba corriendo para regidora, yo me puse muy feliz. porque tenía años conociéndola y sabía que era muy dedicada a la comunidad. Yo le ayudé en su campaña tocando puertas, haciendo llamadas, hablando con todas las personas que me escuchaban y se me cruzaban en mi camino. Les decía que debían votar por la señora Gómez, que ella es de las personas que han vivido y visto las necesidades de nuestra comunidad y que ella escuchaba también a los residentes. Siempre estoy muy contenta trabajando para elegir a la señora Gómez porque la conozco en lo personal y en lo que es el trabajo comunitario. No tengo duda que ella está dedicada a trabajar para nuestras comunidades de justicia social y hace lo que se debe de hacer. El poder verla cuando entramos al concilio es muy bonito y me siento muy orgullosa, pues es una de nosotros y de la comunidad. Ella está ahí abogando para nosotros y para las comunidades. Ver a la señora Gómez ganar las elecciones me inspira en personas como nosotros que podemos ser elegidos. Son personas que desde niños vivieron muchas necesidades, vivieron y miraron muchas necesidades y de jóvenes fueron ignorados y eso es lo que les da el valor y la fuerza en lo que les da a seguir luchando por sus comunidades más marginadas. Necesitamos muchas personas como nosotros, como nuestra regidora, que ella ha visto mucho por las comunidades y personas como nosotros, como de las comunidades, podemos impulsarlos a que miren por todas las necesidades que tenemos en nuestra comunidad. Personas con valores, personas humildes. De esas personas podemos ponerlas nosotros enfrente para que luchen por nosotros mismos. Gracias, creo que es todo.
Oh, thank you so much, Esperanza. That was really great. I hope most people caught that in real time, as she was saying. Just a quick summary. She's, Esperanza from the district that Georgette is a council member. She shared the story that when Council President Gomez told her that she was running, she was happy, she was excited because one of us was going to be running, and it made her feel really proud to go out and call people, to talk to her friends. And when people would ask her about the election or when she could talk to people about the election, she could really, she could feel proud about who she was talking about. And she did mention that when she walks into council chambers now and gets to see, council president up there, it makes her feel proud. It makes her feel happy, and makes her feel like we can be there. We can get to this. Our folks. We can get to that position, and that's why she's there. And I'll just say quickly. I mean, and no doubt Esperanza is there, and she, Georgette would probably say it as well. She's been out there making calls, doing that, and she's been doing that with EHC and EHJC. So really happy to get to work with Esperanza and see her here today. So with that, I think I'm handing it back over to Lucia, correct?
Yes. And I'm going to quickly hand it off to another community leader from CVE to talk about what Esther's campaign meant to them. And so Cindy Morales, if you want to take yourself off of mute and share what Esther's campaign meant to you and your community.
Yeah, thank you. Hey everyone, good afternoon. Yeah, my name is Cindy, and yeah, I feel like overall, like I was really inspired by Esther running. I feel like growing up in East Oakland and being undocumented, like you're not very connected to like either local government or just like elections in general. And just like meeting Esther and seeing her learn so much by herself, like teach herself everything that has to do with campaign and like government, how it all goes. Seeing her like show up to places and take space and sometimes even make space even when there wasn't any, and create conversations that she wanted to have around EJ, around all the issues that she's passionate about. Yeah, it just really inspired me. I feel like now while she was that campaign and when it was getting closer to the primaries, I would see her poster and I would like tell my family, my friends, like, look, like that's Esther, I know her, like you should vote for her. And it was, yeah, the same feeling, like very proud and just very sure of what the person that I wanted people to vote for. So yeah, thank you, Esther, for everything you've done, and you're amazing.
Thank you so much to Georgette and Esther and our community leaders, Esperanza and Cindy, for everything that you just shared. You know, it was incredibly brave for both of you to run for office, and you can hear that it's been so meaningful and impactful to our communities, which is why we wanted to invite our speakers, our community leaders, to really share what that felt like on the ground during that campaign and afterwards. And, you know, just uplifting some of the comments that have been said in the chat box. You know, it doesn't matter if you can vote or you can't vote. It's about everyone in elections in their community doing their part, talking to their friends and their family, knocking on doors, and getting informed about what issues are important to the community, and uplifting those candidates and leaders in our community that, you know, are our EJ champions, like Esther and Georgette are. And so thank you again to all of you for joining us and for sharing your stories and your experiences. And so everyone that registered for Congreso, I just want you all to know that if you registered with your email, we'll be sharing and sending you our CEJA Action Voter Guide, and a flyer that explains how to vote safely this November, and all of our EJ champion endorsed candidates. And so we want to make sure that this conversation helped connect you all to why this election is so important, connect us to some amazing community leaders, but most importantly, keep us all informed on how to be able to engage with elections safely in the next couple months. And so I'm going to hand it over to Ernesto. Thank you all so much for joining our workshop.
Yes, and thank you so much to the workshop facilitators. Thank you for joining the elections workshop. Special shout out to Georgette and Esther. Oh my God, having worked with Esther and just being inspired by that move and moving forward, even with the short timeline, that authenticity, that realness and the integrity that you ran your campaign was so inspiring. Love you for that. Now we're going to take a 15-minute break before our final event of the day at 12:30 p.m., which is a documentary screening and discussion on CRPE's Green Zones Community Tour. For our last break of the day, once again, we'll be hearing uplifting music provided by DJ Que Madre. And please use this break to take care of yourself, grab your lunch, step outside, refresh your eyes, look at butterflies, who knows? Take the day in just a little bit. And don't forget to check out our virtual photo booth. The link is gonna be in the chat. Please use the hashtags Congreso 2020, hashtag Just Recovery, share on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And we'll see you again at 12:30 p.m.
Gracias. Again, everybody, my name is DJ Que Madre. Muchísimas gracias por